Ladies and gentlemen, in a world that is often scarred by conflict, betrayal, pain, and misunderstanding, we find ourselves longing for healing, not just for ourselves, but for our families, our communities, and even our nations. We live in a hurting world, but in the midst of this brokenness, there exists a force, quiet but powerful, simple yet transformative. That force is forgiveness. Forgiveness is not weakness. It is not forgetting or excusing wrongdoing. Forgiveness is strength. It's choosing peace over revenge, healing over hate, and freedom over bitterness. When the world breaks you, forgiveness is what begins to put you back together. Let's explore 4 life-changing truths about the power of forgiveness. Number 1. Forgiveness sets you free. It sounds simple, but in reality, it's one of the most difficult choices a person can make. When we've been hurt, truly hurt, by someone's actions, the natural response is to hold on. We hold on to the memory, the pain, the anger, and the desire for justice. We replay the words they said or the actions they took, again and again, as if reliving the pain might somehow make it right. But what it really does is chain us to the past. It keeps us stuck in a moment that we were never meant to live in forever. And the truth is, the longer we hold on to that pain, the heavier it becomes. Forgiveness doesn't mean that what happened was okay. It doesn't mean that the person was right or that the wound didn't matter. Forgiveness is not about pretending that it didn't hurt. It's about saying, I will no longer carry this pain with me. It's the moment you decide that your peace is more important than your pride, that your healing matters more than holding onto the bitterness. When you forgive, you let go of the poison of resentment, and in doing so, you set yourself free. Many people believe that withholding forgiveness gives them power. They think, if I forgive, then they win, then I've let them off the hook. But the opposite is true. When you refuse to forgive, you hand over your peace to the person who hurt you. You allow them to keep living in your mind, to take up space in your heart, and to continue controlling your emotions. Forgiveness, instead, takes that power back. It says, you no longer get to define how I feel. I choose peace. I choose freedom. There's an invisible weight we carry when we refuse to forgive. It doesn't show up on a scale, but it affects everything: our mood, our relationships, even our physical health. Studies have shown that chronic anger and resentment can lead to stress, anxiety, depression, and illness. The body holds on to pain just like the heart does. Forgiveness isn't just an emotional release. It's a physical, mental, and spiritual one. It lightens the soul. It allows you to sleep better, smile more genuinely, and connect with others without the shadow of past hurt looming over you. Some of the most courageous people in the world are not those who fought back, but those who forgave. People who have lost loved ones to violence, who have endured betrayal, abuse, or cruelty, yet chose to forgive, not because it was easy, but because they refused to live in chains. Their decision to forgive didn't erase the past, but it transformed their future. They chose not to be victims of pain, but victors over it. Their stories remind us that forgiveness is not weakness. It's strength in its most powerful form. There's also the matter of forgiving yourself. Sometimes the hardest person to forgive isn't someone else. It's the person staring back at you in the mirror. We carry guilt for past mistakes, for decisions we regret, for things we said or didn't say. And we punish ourselves long after the moment has passed. But you can't truly move forward while dragging the weight of shame behind you. Self-forgiveness is the key to self-liberation. It's recognizing that you are human, that you've learned, that you're growing, and that you still deserve grace. Forgiveness doesn't require a conversation. It doesn't require reconciliation. It doesn't even require the other person to be sorry. It's an internal decision. A gift you give yourself. You don't have to announce it. You just have to choose it. Sometimes you may have to choose it again and again, every day, until the wound finally closes. But each time you choose it, the grip of the past loosens, and one day you realize you're no longer defined by what happened. You're no longer carrying the pain. You're free. Freedom is not forgetting. It's remembering without rage. It's recalling the past without being ruled by it. It's being able to say, that hurt me deeply, but it doesn't own me anymore. Forgiveness gives you that kind of freedom. It opens the door to healing, to peace, to joy. It's one of the most powerful acts of courage and love a person can take. In a world that constantly gives us reasons to hold grudges, to be angry, and to stay hurt, forgiveness is the quiet revolution. It's the refusal to stay broken. It's the declaration that we will not be prisoners of the past. Because when you forgive, you don't just change your life, you reclaim it. You walk lighter, you breathe deeper, and you finally begin to live free. Number 2, forgiveness heals relationships and restores humanity in ways that no other force can. When someone hurts us, whether through words, betrayal, or silence, something sacred in the relationship is broken. Trust is damaged, hearts are wounded, and distance grows. What was once whole begins to feel unfamiliar and painful. But forgiveness has the unique power to mend what anger and pride continue to tear apart. It is the bridge that allows people to find each other again, even after the deepest divides. When we forgive, we are choosing to let go of the desire to punish and instead reach for peace. That decision, simple as it may sound, is an act of immense strength. In a world where people are quick to cut ties and slow to understand, forgiveness is a bold step toward healing. It reopens the door that hurt tried to close. It says, yes, you hurt me, but I value this relationship enough to try again. That willingness to rebuild is what makes relationships thrive. Not perfection, but the courage to heal together. In every relationship, between friends, siblings, parents and children, spouses, there will be moments of pain. We are human and humans are flawed. We say things we don't mean, we act out of fear or insecurity, we make choices that cause harm. If every mistake led to permanent separation, no relationship would survive. Forgiveness is the thread that stitches people back together. It allows us to say, I see your humanity, even in your failure, and I choose to move forward with you. That choice doesn't erase the past, but it writes a new future. Beyond the personal, forgiveness has the power to restore humanity itself. Our world today is divided by race, politics, religion, and history. Generations of pain have been passed down like an inheritance, and hatred has become a habit. But hatred never heals. It only deepens the wound. Forgiveness, on the other hand, dares to break the cycle. It chooses to lay down arms and pick up compassion. It invites conversation instead of condemnation. It recognizes that we are more alike than we are different, and that we all carry scars. Great movements of peace in history have been built on the foundation of forgiveness. From communities torn apart by war to families shattered by violence, healing only truly begins when someone chooses to forgive. It doesn't mean forgetting the injustice. It means believing that reconciliation is still possible, even in the ashes. Forgiveness says, we have suffered enough, let's not let the past destroy our future. It creates space for empathy, for truth, and for real understanding. Forgiveness doesn't just heal the relationship between two people, it softens the hearts of those who witness it. When someone forgives someone who hurt them deeply, it touches something sacred in the human spirit. It reminds us of our shared struggle, our shared longing for redemption and connection. It inspires others to reflect on their own relationships and wonder, if they can forgive, maybe I can too. That's how humanity is restored, one heart at a time. Even in families where wounds can run deep and resentment can become a way of life, forgiveness offers hope. It says, I want more than this silence, more than this distance. It doesn't guarantee that everything will go back to the way it was, but it opens the door to something new, something maybe even better. Relationships healed by forgiveness often grow stronger because they are rooted in grace, in understanding, in the decision to love beyond the hurt. Forgiveness also requires humility. It calls us to admit that we too have failed, that we too need grace. When we see our own capacity for mistakes, we become more compassionate toward others. We stop seeing people as just the sum of what they did wrong and begin to see them as people, like us, trying to do their best in a complicated world. That perspective shift is what restores humanity, not just in others, but within ourselves. We are not meant to walk through life carrying grudges like baggage. We are not meant to stay in anger, bitterness, or isolation. We are meant to grow, to heal, and to reconnect. Forgiveness is the path that leads us there. It is the silent revolution that rebuilds what was broken, renews what was lost, and redeems what seemed impossible to fix. In a hurting world, forgiveness is not just a kind act. It is a necessary one. It is the foundation upon which families are rebuilt, communities are healed, and nations find peace. When we choose to forgive, we don't just restore a relationship, we restore our humanity. We remember that love is stronger than hate, that unity is more powerful than division, and that grace is what makes life beautiful again. Number 3. Forgiveness gives you power over pain in a way that nothing else can. Pain is a natural response to being hurt. It's raw, real, and sometimes overwhelming. When someone breaks your trust, betrays your love, or wounds your spirit, the pain can feel like a weight on your chest, something you carry with you everywhere. It follows you into your thoughts, shapes your mood, and sometimes even changes the way you see yourself and the world. But pain doesn't have to be permanent. It doesn't have to define you. And forgiveness is the key that allows you to rise above it, not by pretending it never happened, but by refusing to let it control you. So many people think that holding onto pain makes them stronger, that by remembering what was done and refusing to forgive, they are somehow guarding themselves. But the opposite is true. Holding onto pain gives it power. It gives the person who hurt you continued control over your peace of mind. Every time you replay the event in your head, every time you feel the anger surge through you, the pain is in charge. Forgiveness is the moment you take that power back. It's the bold declaration that says, "I will not let what happened to me become who I am." Forgiveness does not mean forgetting. It does not mean saying what they did was okay. It means choosing your healing over your hurt. It means no longer allowing the pain to be the loudest voice in your life. When you forgive, you are not changing the past. You are changing your relationship with it. You're taking the pain out of the driver's seat and putting your peace back behind the wheel. You're saying, "This hurt me, but it will not hold me hostage." The strength of forgiveness lies in its quiet power. It doesn't shout. It doesn't demand revenge. It simply releases. And in that release, something miraculous happens. The pain begins to lose its grip. The memories might still be there, but they don't sting as sharply. The wound begins to close, the tears dry up, and in their place grows strength, resilience, and clarity. There is deep strength in someone who can say, "I forgive you," especially when the apology never came. That kind of forgiveness is not a weakness. It's a superpower. It takes courage to let go. It takes self-respect to say, "I deserve peace more than I deserve to hold this grudge." You reclaim your story. You turn the page. You grow beyond the place where you were broken. Pain can often feel like it defines us. It becomes a part of how we identify ourselves, the one who was left, the one who was betrayed, the one who was abused. And while those experiences are real and valid, they are not all of who you are. Forgiveness allows you to take back your identity from the grip of pain. You become the one who overcame, the one who healed, the one who chose peace in a world that glorifies resentment. There's a reason forgiveness is hard. It forces you to confront the pain, to look it in the eye, and decide that it will no longer own you. That decision doesn't come all at once. Sometimes, forgiveness is something you have to choose again and again. But with every choice, you gain more strength. With every moment of release, you feel more free. And slowly, the power shifts from the pain to your own heart. Forgiveness also opens the door for emotional clarity. When we are consumed by pain, our vision is clouded. We see everything through the lens of what happened to us. But forgiveness lifts the fog. It allows us to see ourselves and others more clearly. We start to understand that everyone is carrying wounds, that hurt people, and that healing is a choice we make, not once, but continuously. Choosing forgiveness is choosing life. It's choosing to stop bleeding over old wounds and start living with new purpose. It gives you the strength to move forward, to build healthy relationships, and to walk lighter. It is a process, but one that leads to freedom. In the end, forgiveness is not about the person who hurt you. It's about you. It's about your heart, your health, your future. It's about saying, you may have hurt me, but I choose not to stay hurt. That is true power, the power to let go of pain and embrace peace. That is what forgiveness offers, and in a world filled with wounds, it might be the most powerful gift of all. Number 4. Forgiveness inspires a better world because it plants the seeds of healing where there has been pain, bridges where there have been divisions, and hope where there has been despair. In a world that often feels fractured by conflict, betrayal, and misunderstanding, forgiveness becomes more than just a personal virtue. It becomes a revolutionary act. When one person chooses to forgive, that single decision has the power to ripple outward, touching lives far beyond the moment. It shows others that peace is possible, even after the deepest wounds. It reminds us all that humanity is still capable of grace. The world is hurting. Every day we see headlines about violence, broken relationships, injustice, and bitterness. Generations carry the burden of old wounds between individuals, between communities, and even between nations. Anger becomes normalized, grudges become legacies, and reconciliation seems like a distant dream. But when forgiveness enters the picture, the narrative begins to change. It doesn't erase the past, but it opens the door to a future that is no longer chained to it. It gives people a way to write a new story, one grounded in love, humility, and understanding. One person's decision to forgive can shift the atmosphere in an entire family. It can stop the cycle of generational resentment. It can teach children that healing matters more than pride. It can restore relationships that were thought to be lost forever. In communities, when neighbors choose dialogue over division and compassion over condemnation, healing begins. Forgiveness becomes a powerful act of resistance against the culture of revenge. It says, we will not be driven apart. We will come together even if it hurts. In history, the most powerful movements toward peace and justice have always included forgiveness. Leaders who could have chosen revenge instead chose reconciliation. They inspired the world not because they were soft, but because they were strong enough to see that forgiveness is the only path to lasting change. It takes courage to look an enemy in the eye and choose peace. It takes strength to extend a hand instead of a weapon. And every time it happens, it shows the world what's possible. Forgiveness also challenges the way society thinks about justice. Often, we equate justice with punishment, with making someone pay for what they've done. But true justice is about restoration. It's about healing what was broken, repairing the damage, and moving forward stronger than before. Forgiveness doesn't ignore justice. It transforms it. It asks, how can we make this right without more pain? It shifts the focus from retaliation to redemption. Even in our smallest interactions, forgiveness has the power to elevate humanity. When we forgive someone who cuts us off in traffic, who says something hurtful, who breaks our trust in a moment of weakness, we create space for grace. We allow for the reality that we all fall short, we all make mistakes, and if we want a kinder world, we must start by showing kindness to those around us, even when they don't seem to deserve it. When people witness forgiveness, it changes them. It softens hearts that have grown cold. It challenges minds that have been closed. It reminds us that love is not naive but brave. When you forgive, you show others that bitterness is not the only option. That hope is not foolish. That compassion still has a place in this world. Your example becomes a light for others who are still lost in darkness, searching for a way forward. Forgiveness creates space for unity. It doesn't mean we all have to agree. It doesn't mean we forget the pain, but it means we choose to move forward anyway. It means we vow, you peace more than the need to be right. It means we choose to build bridges rather than burn them. In a world that's quick to cancel, condemn, and divide, forgiveness brings people back to the table. It keeps the conversation going. It says, you still matter, this still matters, let's find a way. The beauty of forgiveness is that it begins within one heart, but its impact can echo across the world. A parent forgives a child, a friend forgives a betrayal, a victim forgives a wrong, and from that place of pain, something beautiful grows. Not just healing for one, but inspiration for many. Forgiveness is not just for the one who receives it. It uplifts everyone who witnesses it. If we want a better world, we must become people who forgive. Not because it's easy, but because it's the only way forward. Because without forgiveness, there is no peace, no unity, no future. But with it, there is possibility, there is transformation, there is hope. And that hope, born in the quiet, courageous act of forgiveness, is what makes a better world not just imaginable, but real. So I challenge you today, is there someone you need to forgive? Maybe it's a person from your past. Maybe it's yourself. Don't wait for the other person to change. Don't wait for the perfect apology. Choose freedom now. Choose peace now. Choose forgiveness. Because in a hurting world, the greatest power we have is the power to heal, and healing always begins with forgiveness. God bless you.